Good morning everyone. In this video, we are going to cover the current affairs. For mobile optimized ebooks, please install GKToday Academy app. For regular updates, please join our Telegram channel. The link is given in the description box. Now we have started a new channel, Civils Academy. You can subscribe to it if you find it relevant. Now let's start. A national report on ANGIKAAR campaign was released recently. Now this campaign is associated to which ministry? So this is a campaign of MOHUA, that is Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and this campaign was launched in 2019, and under this campaign the beneficiaries of PMAY, that is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, are trained and they are given access to other welfare schemes. Now why it was in news recently? This campaign was in news because a national report on this campaign was released, and this campaign is associated to Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Recently, this ministry was in news because of PM Swanidhi scheme. So it is a scheme for street vendors. It is a scheme which is to be implemented by SIDBI. Recently, this scheme was in news because Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs launched the API, that is Application Programming Interface. So this was done between PM Swanidhi portal and e-Mudra portal of SBI, that is State Bank of India. Now this SBI is DSIB, that is Domestic Systematically Important Bank. Apart from SBI, SDFC and ICICI are DSIB. Answer in comment box recently which insurance companies were given the status of DSII, that is Domestic Systematically Important Insurers. Nagarnar Steel Plant is in which state of India? So this steel plant is in Chhattisgarh. Recently CCEA, that is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, gave in principle approval for the demerger of this Nagarnar steel plant from NMDC. What is NMDC? It is National Minerals Development Corporation. This Nagarnar steel plant is in Chhattisgarh. Now in this context, please read about these terms. What is privatization? What is disinvestment? And what is strategic disinvestment? Africa's tallest mountain, the Mount Kilimanjaro, is in which country? So this is related to Tanzania. The capital of Tanzania is Dodoma. Now Tanzania is East African country. Why this Mount Kilimanjaro was in news? It was in news because of fire incident. And because of this fire, the Kifunika Hill is still burning. So this Kifunika Hill is related to Mount Kilimanjaro, and Mount Kilimanjaro is related to Tanzania. It is the tallest mountain of Africa, and it is the highest single freestanding mountain of the world. Which state is set to hold a special assembly session to bring legislation to counter new farm laws? So recently government passed 3 new farmers related legislation, and that is why, that means to counter those new laws, the Punjab Assembly decided to have a special session to counter these new farm laws. Now in this context, please read about APMC and the concept of MSP. Also read about ENAM. ENAM stands for Electronic National Agriculture Market. A drug named Inmazeb has been approved as the first drug for the treatment of which disease? So it is a drug for the treatment of Ebola. Name of the drug is Inmazeb, and recently US regulator, that is FDA, approved this first drug for the treatment of Ebola. What is FDA? It is Food and Drug Administration. So it is the regulator in USA. Now this Inmazeb has been developed by Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. Now coming back to this Ebola. So this Ebola is a viral disease like coronavirus, that is COVID. It is a viral disease and it is caused by Ebola virus. The CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board, has deployed 50 teams to inspect the pollution causing activities in which state or union territory. So this is related to Delhi. What is CPCB? It is Central Pollution Control Board. So in order to control the pollution in the upcoming winter season, CPCB has deployed these 50 teams to inspect the activities which are causing pollution in the Union Territory. Now, in the context of pollution in Delhi, recently EPCA and GRAP were in news. What is GRAP? It is Graded Response Action Plan. So what is the meaning of this action plan? So it is a plan with a graded response. That means, for example, for this much pollution level, we are going to do this. For this much pollution level, we are going to do this. So it will have a response for each pollution level. That, for example, if pollution level is very high, that means air quality is poor, then we are going to stop these activities. If it is very poor, then we are going to stop even these activities. So this is GRAP, that is Graded Response Action Plan. So depending on the pollution level, the steps will be taken. Now, this GRAP will be implemented by EPCA. What is EPCA? It is Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, and this authority is Supreme Court appointed. So this EPCA implement GRAP in the Delhi. Now coming back to CPCB, it is a statutory body and it is under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Recently CPCB was in news because of first e-waste clinic in our country, and it is in Bhopal. And for this e-waste clinic, CPCB partnered with BMC, that is Bhopal Municipal Corporation. Bhopal is in Madhya Pradesh, who had chaired the inter-ministerial meeting with FSSAI to achieve Vision 2050 of Eat Right India movement. So this was chaired by Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan. Now what is this Eat Right India movement? So this is a campaign which has been started by FSSAI, and the objective is to cut down the salt, sugar and oil consumption by 30% in next 3 years. What is FSSAI? It is Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. It is under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Present Health Minister is Dr. Harshvardhan. And the headquarters of this FSSAI is in New Delhi. And as of now, Rita Tewatia is the chairperson of FSSAI. Now, FSSAI was also in news because of Green Purple Initiative. Answer in comment box, what is the objective of this initiative? Which Indian state has launched Haath Dhona Roke Corona campaign? So this is a campaign to promote the hand wash practice, and this is launched by Uttar Pradesh government. Recently Uttar Pradesh was also in news because of Mission Shakti. So this is an initiative which is to be started by the government to promote women's safety in the upcoming Navratri festival. Uttar Pradesh was also in news because of Operation Durachari. So this was started to prevent crime against women. The assets under management of NPS, that is National Payment System, and APY, that is Atal Pension Yojana, has crossed which mark recently? So it has crossed the mark of 5 lakh crore. The PFRDA, that is Regulator of Pension Funds, recently stated that asset under management of NPS and APY have crossed mark of 5 lakh crore. Now PFRDA stands for Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. So this is a regulator of pension funds. Like for banking sector we have RBI, for pension funds we have PFRDA. And the headquarters of PFRDA is in New Delhi. And as of now, Supratim Bandyopadhyay is the chairperson of PFRDA. What is India's contribution to UNRWA for Palestinian refugees? So India's contribution is $1 million. What is UNRWA? It is United Nations Relief and Work Agency. So this agency intends to provide relief programs and services like health, education and other social services for Palestinian refugees. The headquarters of this UNRWA is in Jordan, in Amman. Recently, Jordan was in news as Jordan's King Abdullah II appointed Bashar al-Khashoggi as the new Prime Minister of Jordan. As per the World Economic Outlook 2020, which is released by IMF, what would be the per capita GDP of India in 2020? So recently, because of this report by IMF, there was too much controversy about India's per capita GDP and Bangladesh per capita GDP. So this World Economic Outlook report is released by IMF. And as per this report, the Bangladesh per capita GDP is $1,888. This is about 2020 only, not the overall scenario. So, as per the report, the Bangladesh per capita GDP is expected to grow by 4% and it is approximately $1,888. On the other hand, India's per capita GDP is expected to decline by 10.5%. In this case, that means in case of Bangladesh, it was growth. In case of India, it is going to decline by 10.5%. And now it is approximately $18,777. Now, what exactly is this per capita GDP? It means total GDP of your country divided by total population. So this figure is for 2020. Now, in this context, please read about real versus nominal GDP, GDP deflator, and please read about PPP, that is purchasing power parity. The waiver of compound interest for loans is applicable to how many category of loans? So, right answer is 8. Now, before that, let me explain you the background of this news. So, because of COVID-19, RBI, that is our central bank, announced moratorium. That means you don't have to pay your EMIs for certain months. So initially this moratorium period was announced for 3 months and later it was extended for 3 more months. So total it was extended for 6 months. Now because of this extension, there was an issue of interest on interest. How so? Suppose in March 2020, your EMI was pending and you had to pay 200 rupees. So you were given moratorium by the Reserve Bank. So now till say June 2020, you don't have to pay your EMIs. But that does not mean your EMIs are clear now. No, you will have to pay this money, but you can start paying say after June 2020. So these 3 months, there will be interest on interest. That means the existing interest was working and banks were willing to charge interest on that. So the matter reached court and the court mentioned that there should be a waiver of compound interest, that is interest on interest accumulated during moratorium against the loan up to 2 crore rupees. That means if your loan is up to 2 crore rupees, you will not have to pay interest on interest for this moratorium time period. And this is announced for 8 sectors. Now, in this context, there is one important aspect also. Supreme Court had mentioned that those accounts which were not declared NPA till 31st of August shall not be declared as NPA till further order. Now what does that mean? See, because of COVID, RBI announced moratorium. Because of this moratorium, people did not pay their EMI. Now, since the EMIs were not paid, the central bank, that means RBI, mentioned to the banks that they should give more time to the borrowers to clear the payments of EMI and it should not be classified as NPA, that is non-performing asset. Usually, if you are not going to pay for 90 days, that means either your interest is pending or your principal is pending, depending on whatever the circumstances are, that money will be classified as NPA. But in this case, RBI said that because of this moratorium, they did not pay and now provide them enough time to pay this money and do not classify it as NPA. Now, in this context, Supreme Court said that if any asset was not classified as NPA till 31st of August, then it should not be classified as NPA till the next order of Supreme Court. But now RBI mentioned that it will be against the banking system, because if there is a stay on NPA classification, that will adversely impact the health of financial system of our country. So this was entire issue. Artificial intelligence and machine learning has been introduced recently in which portal of MSME Ministry? So this has been introduced in the Champions portal. This portal is for MSME sector and now artificial intelligence and machine learning has been introduced in this portal. So these were the most important questions of today's video. Now we are going to cover important news. Feel free to skip it at your own risk if you do not like the format. So first news is related to Capita. Capita stands for Kalam Program for Intellectual Property, Literacy and Awareness. So this program has been started by MOE, that is Ministry of Education, and it is related to Dr. Kalam. It was launched on the occasion of his 89th birth anniversary and it was on 15th of October. So this Capita program stands for Kalam Program for Intellectual Property, Literacy and Awareness. So this is related to intellectual property. Next is Family Credit Card. So this initiative has been started by IKEA, and for that IKEA has partnered with MasterCard and Citibank. So these three have collaborated to launch Family Credit Card. Next is International Day for Eradication of Poverty. So it is on 17th of October, and the theme of this year was acting together to achieve social and environmental justice for all. Next is National Security Guard. So on 16th of October, this National Security Guard Day was celebrated. NSG, that is National Security Guards, are also known as Black Cats, and NSG was established in 1984. Next is The Battle of Belonging. So it is a book by Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Next is Red Light on Gaadi Off campaign. So this is a campaign by Delhi government. The idea behind this campaign is to encourage people to switch off their vehicle when there is a red light on traffic signal. So at that point of time, if you are going to switch off your vehicle, it will save your fuel, plus it will help in reduction of pollution. So that is why this campaign was started. Next is Rajiv Gauba panel. So recently the government constituted a panel of secretaries, and this panel is under the chairpersonship of Home Secretary, and this panel is under the chairmanship of Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba. Now why this panel has been constituted? This panel has been constituted to streamline the telecom spectrum allocation process. Next is INS Sindhuveer. So recently India decided to deliver this Kilo class submarine INS Sindhuveer to Myanmar. So this will be the first submarine of Myanmar Navy, and India decided to deliver this INS Sindhuveer to Myanmar. Next is Awaaz initiative. So it is initiative started by Rajasthan government. Objective is women's safety, and this Awaaz stands for Action Against Women Related Crime and Awareness for Justice. Next is Ashan Conservation Reserve. So this is in Uttarakhand, and this is the first Ramsar site of Uttarakhand. Ramsar is a convention related to wetlands. Actually, Ramsar is a name of place in Iran, and this convention was signed at Ramsar. That's why it is Ramsar Convention. It is related to wetland conservation. Why this convention was in news? Because recently Ashan Conservation Reserve was given the status of Ramsar site, and this is first such site in Uttarakhand to get such status. Next is My Town, My Pride. So this is an initiative started by Jammu and Kashmir. Actually, this is an initiative to provide governance at doorsteps. That means to provide government services at your doorsteps. A similar initiative was started by Jammu and Kashmir Administration for rural areas. So for rural areas, the name of campaign was Back to Village, and for urban areas, the name of campaign is My Town, My Pride. So it is a campaign started by Jammu and Kashmir. Idea is to provide governance services at doorsteps. Next is Dhruv Dhanraj Bahal. So recently he has been appointed as COO, that is Chief Operating Officer of Bharat Pay. Recently Bharat Pay was also in news as it announced a TV campaign, and the name of campaign is Team Bharat Pay. And for this campaign, 11 cricketers were appointed as the brand ambassadors. Next is Kapil Dev Kamath. So he was a politician. He was associated to Bihar, and he was the Panchayati Raj Minister of Bihar, and he was associated to JDU political party. Recently he passed away. Next is Vishal V. Sarma. So he has been appointed as India's permanent representative to UNESCO. Next is Mobile Water Testing Laboratory Van. So recently Haryana government launched this laboratory van to ensure the testing of potable water. Next is International Weightlifting Federation. So recently this federation was in news because Dr. Michael Irani has been appointed as the interim president of this International Weightlifting Federation. So these were the most important questions of today's quiz. Thank you, and that's all for the day.